anyway, rest in peace to John Singleton. But anyway, you know, the part of it that captures our culture, to me, was what attracted me to the film. Beyond the Hurricane Katrina aftermath, I was attracted to the story of 4 young men trying to find their path, and knowing that myself and my crew, we lived through that. Whether you're in Brooklyn, whether you're in Chicago, Detroit, don't matter. It's so many of these same stories where we got aspirations to be successful and we're on the right course, and we even could be nerds, right? And then something cock block it, you know what I mean? In this case, it's a natural disaster, right? And then our aspirations puts us down the path of desperation.
Yes. So that kind of actually leads me into my next question, which is perfect. So I think a lot of people will relate and understand what the characters in this film went through, because it's kind of like you said, when you're trying to survive, it's a means to an end. So you got to do whatever, whenever. And I think kind of during even today's times, that's kind of what we're going through, whether it be, you know, coronavirus, racial injustice, whatever. I think a lot of people will relate to just their hunger and their drive. And I think that you guys did such a great job of really portraying that on screen. Tell me a little bit, what was that like, just bringing that out and just kind of like connecting to the audiences on an emotional level?
Yeah, well, we wanted to, you know, the great cast of young actors, also, you know, finding themselves as men too, you know, growing as actors and as talent. We all wanted to make sure that the story and the voice of struggle and optimism is heard, but we also wanted to point out that opportunity is scarce in our community. Mm-hmm. We don't got 20 flavors to choose from, yo. You know what I mean? It's 1 or 2 flavors, and because of that, everybody is in a crabs in a barrel. So that was important. But then the thing I think that was also important for the film was to show that even in the midst of these struggles, right, there was a love there. There's a desire of a man trying to get home. You know, I made it, you know, as a director, you get to call the shots, right? Mm-hmm. I made it, you know, very prominent, you know, talking to Shameik as an actor when he had to decide that he's going to do the crime. I made him like think about if you had a kid, what would you do knowing that tomorrow you're taking a risk that could risk you, your kid, everybody? And he said, I would pray. I said, okay then, let's do that in the movie. And I set the camera up and I said, and he went over and said the Lord's Prayer. And in all reality, I could see a lot of us in our community praying and sometimes feeling that prayers are unanswered. Right. And therefore we turn to ourselves. And sometimes when we turn to ourselves, it's wrong, right? It's wrong. So that's why, you know, the patience, you know, you got to have patience with God, they say, right? But it's hard sometimes to have patience when, as you see, he went to look at his mail and he's months behind the bills, you know what I mean? The milk looked low in the refrigerator. It's like, it's hard to have that patience, you know what I mean?
The faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, that's kind of what touched me, and talk about the timeliness of it. You know, people are going through things just like they were post-Katrina, natural disasters, everything like that. So I love how timely this movie was. But we talked about things that kind of brought everyone together. You're a music legend. And as the director, I love the score and I love the soundtrack. And I think that kind of like really added to like the emotion and the feels of the movie. As the musical great, tell me a little bit about like how important that was to have a score and a soundtrack that like really aligns with the film.
Well, that was very important. In fact, I usually kind of keep my hands on everything. If you notice my last 2 films, but in this film, the story and the characters were so important to me, and I realized that sometimes I could stretch myself. And so I was fortunate to get T.I Harris to come on and do the score for me. And he saw the film in the early phase, and he fell in love with it. He was like, he's from a whole different culture. T.I Harris, he's the son of a Beatle, right? So, but he learned. He said watching the film informed him of culture, and I remember him saying to me, "What I want to do for you, Bobby," he talks in this British accent. He's like, "What I want to do for you, I want to capture the sound of the storm." Because it's the sound of the storm, I think, that could relate to everybody's life, because storms go everywhere. Now I say, you know what? If you keep that energy like that, then I know you're going to deliver something great. And that's how he went away. But then I got fortunate to get a music supervisor named Adrian Miller. You may know Adrian, as he manages Anderson Park, and they're having this big moment right now. And, you know, I wanted, you know, something that, like, I didn't want to rely on my Wu-Tang energy, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to let the template open. And Adrian went and took the helm as music supervisor, and, you know, gathered a lot of things, brought it back to me. And, you know, listen, I listened to a lot of Lil Wayne doing this production. I listened to a lot of Juvenile, a lot of No Limit. I mean, that was like on set, constantly playing. And Demetrius Shipp, he couldn't get enough of, he just was listening to 50 Cent. He just, like the first album, I mean, he just kept playing that. He'll come on set just, so, you know, everybody had that energy too. And Cat Graham, who also did a great job in this film. I just want to say one thing about Cat Graham, which I hope the audience realize, is that, you know, I try to show, like, you know, and so in mathematics, it says it takes knowledge and wisdom to bring forth understanding. And knowledge is symbolic to a man, and wisdom is symbolic to a woman. And the child is the production of these two. You can't get the understanding without it. And this is why her character is in such a strong position. You know, when she goes and talks to Ethan Hawke, she says something that I think a lot of women feel. Because when you home with your man, you don't think you're home with a criminal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're home with the father of your children. Mm-hmm. And that's the person you love. And she said that line, "My husband ain't no criminal." Mm-hmm. He's doing crime, but he ain't a criminal.
Yes, exactly.
And I think
there's a difference.
It's a big difference. And I think that's the big difference that in our community, that I hope that the film could inspire, is that we're not natural criminals, yo. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the cops, sometimes they look at us like that. That's why they come out with the sticks and guns first, because they seeing us in the wrong light. You know what I mean? And I'm like, nah, we're not natural criminals, yo. Sometimes what we do is because you guys have removed all opportunities, and we're doing things for survival. And I think the film shows that.
It definitely does. I'm not going to take too much more of your time, but I mean, there's so many things that I took away personally after I saw it. Whether it was connecting through the struggle, through the grind, the camaraderie between the characters, the brotherhood. We don't see that a lot, especially between Black men. So I definitely appreciated that. Tell me one thing you want audiences to take away once they see this film. Because we're in a weird time right now, and people are taking different things, but I took a number of things. So bravo to you, bravo to the huge, amazing cast that you guys have. Tell me one thing that you want the audience to take away after watching this film.
I guess, I mean, there's a lot too for me, but let me say one thing at least. There's many things I want y'all to take away, but I'm gonna use a line from the film that I hope can sink in into young men and young women, and especially in the Black community or the poverty community. There's a line, she says, "A pen will take you further than a gun." And that's important because I'm a living example of that. Method Man's a living example. 50 Cent is a living example. Jay-Z is a living example. Kanye is a living example. Okay? Booker T is a living example. I could go back to our Langston Hughes is living. A pen could take us further than a gun. And I hope that young men realize that they could take that energy and put it somewhere else.
Definitely. And I think that's a great way to end it. Reza, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do for this culture. I'm from Brooklyn. My boyfriend's from Staten Island. So we've been listening to you guys since toddlers, since it came out the womb. But I'm super excited for everyone to see this film. I think it really is timely, like we talked about earlier, just with everything that's going on, and kind of gives, you know, a comedic but heist movie and situation to take away take our minds off everything else. So thank you so much.
Thank
You
you.
did an awesome job, and I wish you all the luck.
Thank you. Peace.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sid.
Thank you.
Bye.